Right, welcome everybody. So it's time for another recap of, I don't even know which year this is, Red Zone Blitz year, whatever it is, first round of the draft. And today we got a few of us. So I can see Nick's on, Joel's on, Evan's on, Eli's on. So hey guys, why don't we go turn by turn, just see how we're getting on with our off season. Nick, I'll start with you. Nick, how's your off season going?
Well, it's about as close to a rebuild as you'll ever see from me. I'm not expecting a great year this upcoming year, but I'm really happy with how the off season's going. It's fallen into place how I wanted it to. I think we've had a couple of pretty poor drafts, and it's put my back against the wall. So I'm having to play the set of cards I got in my hand, and yeah, it's just maybe a little bit of a dip down, and sort of just trying to reset. But I'm happy how it's gone this year.
Good. And I'll switch over to the other side, I guess, of the Atlantic. I'll kick off with Evan. How are you getting on? You've had a busy off season, man.
Yeah, obviously with the trade, but then in free agency, I've been trying to work on my inner squirrel and go after some chemistry guys, try to build up some QB affinities for my future guy here with the leader positions and trying to get some guys with each group that work well together. See what we can do with that.
I hadn't noticed you were doing that. What group's your quarterback in?
He's a Pisces.
Okay,
Yellow.
I don't know what yellow.
It's
Okay.
Taurus and Cancer, I think.
Okay. Joel, I heard you there. Yellow is the low intelligence group, right?
Yeah.
We'll get the trade in a minute.
Yeah, they are low intel. I have my offensive line as my backup quarterback, Sagittarius, so I was thinking of keeping them in the green group because I think they have higher, but I don't know.
And Eli, welcome to this. Our fellow co-GM. We both co-GM in this league. How's it going, man? You good?
Doing great, man. Thanks.
I appreciate you coming on this. And look, I want to talk about how are you guys finding your off season? How are you and Zach finding it? I mean, the co-GM thing is a lot of fun for me. I play with Quick, as you know. How are you guys finding it?
It's actually a lot of fun. We talk a lot about the players on the roster, what we're going to do. It's nice to think things through. Do you and Quick talk a lot?
We Slack. We communicate on Slack a lot.
Yeah. And that's what I mean.
And that's kind of, it's proven to be the best communication method for us. And we've kind of developed a little rhythm to it. It's taken a few off seasons, I think. It's taken several real life months to figure it out, but I think we've clicked into one now, and hopefully it'll actually translate to some performance, because for a couple of years our team has been awful. But let's see if we're on on the upward curve. You guys are on an unbelievable upward curve. If you look at your roster for the last sort of the 1, 2, 3 year guys, I think it is, on your roster are just unbelievable. And you've been working the cap hard. I can see some pretty amazing cap work. So at some point it's all going to explode for you guys. How many seasons do you think it's going to take before you guys are sort of consistently up there? I think it's 1 or 2 more. What do you reckon?
I think at 1, probably.
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
I think we'll be very competitive next year, but I think the year after will be very, very, very competitive.
I have a sneaking suspicion you may well be right. I think we're going to see a real contender here. And so we just and Joel, how about you on off season before we get it? Let's talk about this trade in a minute. But Joel, how do you find the off season?
It's been my standard off season. I've traded some players. I've questioned why I've traded those players during the season. I'll question why my cohesion's bad. That kind of off season.
You did a trade with me. The real, obviously, we'll talk about the trade in a minute. But the real trade in this was when I traded you our first rounder, which was very exciting. Which means I didn't make a pick on this board. We're going to go through the first round picks in a minute, one by one, as we've done a few times before. We haven't done it for a couple of off seasons. But come on, let's do the trade. So Evan came in and bid the small matter of 7 first round picks to one of my divisional rivals. Thanks, Evan. To overbid Zach and Eli for this quarterback who was number 2. I assume that's the right answer. I don't know. Eli can put it straight if it's wrong. Which left them, instead of getting a quarterback, getting a wide receiver. So look, first thing is, once upon a time, only 2 versions of this game would go 8.2 as opposed to 8.4, and 8.4 looks like the version that's going to exist in perpetuity, right? In 8.2, I think it was a lot less obvious whether you'd want the quarterback over the receiver. I think once upon a time, the receivers were so valuable. That seems to have gone away. And now everybody wants the massive quarterbacks again. And you're seeing these gigantic trades. I don't know if this is something that happens in other leagues. I don't play in other leagues at the moment. But we're seeing these huge. I mean, Evan, do you want to start? What kind of caused you to? That's the biggest trade I've ever seen. You did it for Kendall Seaver, 6 or 7 seasons ago. So you do like a big trade up the board. Is that the logic?
Well, I've traded up for quarterbacks twice, for Danny Antonik, and then I also traded up for Seaver. But I don't know, if you go back and look at those trades, I think they're probably not as much value as people usually got for first rounders, because my picks usually didn't end up being that high. So this is probably the most I've given up. But yeah, I don't know. That last update probably made quarterbacks almost less valuable, just because you don't want to throw the ball more, but maybe more valuable as long as you've got a guy that can avoid interceptions. It seems to be you just want to run the ball now and then have your quarterback avoid turning it over. But I don't know. I could have taken those picks and maybe built an offensive line to run the ball, but that's just not – running the ball is just not that fun to me.
Yeah, well, I completely agree with you. And I guess in the end, it turned into a bit of a – we had an unusual situation. The Patriots, again, they're in my division here, or quick in my division. They traded up to 1.2, didn't they, to get the pick? Can someone remember what the order ended up being? Did they trade up to that 1.2?
They wanted that wide receiver. Yeah, I don't think he had interviewed Faria when he did that.
And they got that pick out of what? Jacksonville. So that came out of Mikey, right? And then a bit of time passed, and then this amazing. I mean, this is the most NFL realistic thing I think I've seen in multiplayer front football in a long time, if not ever. All of a sudden, this massive bidding war escalated, and it came because everybody has got so much respect for the drafting that's coming out of Zach and Eli, and it's like, shit, if they're interested in someone, who can it be? And then all of a sudden, it was very NFL realistic. I thought it was very sort of, the sort of peak Belichick, where it's like, what, he's doing something clever and everyone else, we must find a way to get into it. Is that fair? Is that what happened? I mean, I don't know who picks that conversation up. I mean, Eli, you come up the board a lot. I've seen you do that back in the GML. That's your style, I think. Is that fair? You like coming up the board for a big quarterback or whatever?
In the past, yeah, I've loved it. This guy, I thought he was a great player. I think we were giving up a lot to get him, and he was a big risk. I was mad having the trade blown up, but it's an amazing trade.
Yeah.
Amazing trade.
Yeah. I mean, there's 2 bits to it, right? I can understand, obviously, you guys were a bit mad with the trade blown up, but I tell you what, it was a lot of fun. I mean, just in terms of a complete neutral to it, which was us, Quick and I were watching it, and we're just like, what the hell is happening in this league, man? And I just want to step back and say big thanks to the people who, Rob, obviously, Simon, the hype generator. I mean, it was funny if it wasn't, and once all the emotions died down. But I mean, you've obviously all got players that look like they're good players. Fingers crossed. Maybe you find, Eli, you've dodged a bullet, because if you remember a couple of off seasons ago, you guys were trying to come over me and Quick for a tackle, if you remember, that we all thought was sort of generational, 90 rated, amazing. And then when we got him, he was completely awful. So you never know, right? You never know. Yeah. I don't know. Anyone want to say anything else about this magical super trade before we actually get into picks? Anything else to add?
Well, I suppose I ought to say something. I mean, yeah, I mean, me and Eli have had a little chat, and I think I'm right in saying we're on pretty decent terms now. I was completely honest with him and with my thoughts, and he was also. I think we kind of met in the middle. But yeah, I mean, for me, I knew that they were after either Cruz or Faria, and I sensed it was Faria for a couple of reasons. But no, to be honest. I'll be honest, I was trying to nobble them. What I was hoping, that's just being honest,
Fair enough.
I love that.
So what I was hoping was going to happen was that they were going to have to trade up to 1-2, and they were going to pay maybe another first round draft pick to go up to 1-2. So, because I wanted Atlanta to be bled of draft picks. Obviously, they're so dangerous.
Yep.
With their graphics, and it is debatable whether that's ethical. I mean, to me, it is. I think that's part of the game.
Yeah, I guess the way to think about it, and this is how I think this is how I'd sum it up. I think for you guys, on Eli, and for obviously Zach, who I've said for a long, long time, you guys are outstandingly good at this game. You know what I think. It's a huge compliment, right? Everyone can see that there's a real prospect of gigantic dominance coming to, maybe it's a season from now, 2 or 3 seasons from now.
That's how I see it. It's
everyone's trying to find a way to stop it, right? And I think where it becomes unethical, my view is it becomes unethical if it starts feeling like it's collusion, right? We all take out, if it feels like you're up against a cartel, but I don't think we're quite there. But I mean, even if it was, I mean, who's to stop it? It doesn't happen in the NFL, does it? You didn't get people ganging up on Bill Belichick.
No, I think the problem is me and Joel have done this sort of stuff, and Joel, we talk shit in the off season, and that's what we've done year in, year out. So when I start yapping away, Joel's thinking, "Oh, here we go, Nick's at it again." So automatically we think, "Oh, this is fun," and I can see that it might seem that way, but it's not collusion at all. It's just what we enjoy doing, and it just so happened this year at Atlanta with people at the forefront. So, and also, as I say, if it was many other teams, I wouldn't really read into it, but I knew that they were obviously, that there was obviously a great player at the top. Without them moving up to 1-3, I wouldn't have been sure at all. But because they moved up, I thought, okay, well, it has to be a quarterback. There was no doubt about that in my mind, because they thought the wide receiver was going at 1-2. So then, it was that there was an opportunity there to to hopefully take a draft pick or 2 off them, and that's how I read it. So that's what I intended to do. I never thought Evan was going to fly over the top with 7 firsts. I mean, how the hell can you predict that? And I didn't speak to Evan. I haven't discussed it with Evan now. It just, there was no messages whatsoever. It's his choice. From what I understand, from what Joel said, he had a very underrated interview. So, I mean, that came off his back, and that's what he decided to do. But I never saw that happening. I thought Atlanta may get nervous. They may start getting sweaty that someone would do that. And then, so I thought what would happen, would David go down to 1-3, get the receiver that he was going to take anyway at 1-2. So it made massive sense for Dave to go down to 1-3. So that's what I sort of thought. If everyone's going to get the player, it's just going to cost Atlanta another first, or something like that. So that's how I saw it play now. But it didn't.
So which of these two, I've put them both on the screen. Hopefully if you can see my screen all right. You can see the first pick on the left, and then the right-hand side is the second pick, who is the focus of all this attention. Which one of these is better? I mean, surely it's the left, right?
What
Amos is definitely the more obvious pick, just because he's not hidden at all. At least it doesn't look like it.
I mean, I think what's happened here, and again, I think this is very NFL realistic. Everyone in the whole game looks at the left and thinks that's better, right? Surely, right? Anyone who's played this game a lot. But then the guy on the right has suddenly got this halo effect because Zach and Eli are interested, right?
Yeah.
That's what's happened, right?
It's the 1-1 guy.
I don't know. The stuff I like about Farrier over Henninger, though, is like he's in the dumber group. He's got better sense rush.
Is Henninger dumb?
I'm not saying I'd take him.
Well, is Henninger dumb or smart?
No,
Henninger's in the smartest group.
Oh shit, is he?
Yeah.
Oh boy. 43. I mean, if he's at 45 or 46, then that normally is quite a big difference.
See, if I was Dave, I would have interviewed both, and I'd have been torn between the two.
Like a 65 AI or something like that, couldn't he? Roughly.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Farrier could have a 100 AI.
Potentially, I guess. Well, right up there. I don't know exactly how the mechanics work, but yeah. See, that was the one thing that made me look at Farrier over Cruz. I know Cruz was dumb, and on a 38, that gave me the heebie-jeebies. Also, obviously, we've got the sense rush bar on Farrier and the 7.22 combine. So I wouldn't have a clue. I'd have to ask Zach and Eli. I don't know who's going to be better. I haven't got a clue. I mean, you look at my bars. I mean, I don't know. I'll tell you what. I think, I reckon it's going to be close. I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, Eli, can I ask you, how did you think you were going to? I mean, when you've got the most ridiculous roster, and it's going to get more ridiculous over time. How do you fit a quarterback on that and actually pay a quarterback? That's the bit I was struggling with, because from a cap point of view, aren't you guys going to be really, really struggling? I was just assuming you'd go sort of cheap and cheerful,
We're actually in great cap shape. We've got almost everybody re-signed to extensions, and $100 million coming next year because big contracts coming off the books. So we've got a lot of money.
But is that going to last 3 or 4 seasons? Because I think the way that you guys are shaping up is long-term dominance, right? It's not we're going to be good next season. It's going to be in 3 years you might be unbeatable, right? How are you going to keep that together?
You're going to pay the guys that are most productive, and the other guys you're going to trade away, cut, do what you have to do.
Cycle the others. Yeah. I guess there you go. There's the campaign to stop comp picks getting put in there. All right, that's 1 and 2. Let's do the rest of this and let's get moving. Right. So this is Eli. This is the guy you took at 3. What were you guys seeing here?
Honestly, we weren't even looking at him. We knew there was receivers there, and I didn't even look at him until after the trade was made. Yeah. But max get downfield, about 75 route running, 90 big play. Has a potential to pop. I think it's 50-50.
Yep.
So we're happy with him.
Yeah, look, I think that's, if this was 8.2, I'd even query whether this is a player you'd take before the quarterbacks. But I mean, it's not 8. I really don't know what moves the needle in this version of the game. I'm completely the wrong person to be in this conversation because I've no idea. As the performance of our team shows over the past few years, certainly before Quick managed to get on the controls and improve things. But look, I think this is the consensus, and I'm just going to whip this off here so that I've got my big board over here, which has still got players on it. Yeah, okay. I had this guy as pretty much level with the next one. So again, let's do a side by side because I had this guy as pretty much level with this one so the right hand side of the screen is going to be the 4th pick, and the left hand side of the screen is going to be the 3rd pick. At least it is if I can actually remember how to do it. There we are. So Dole on the right hand side of the screen looked to me a safer bet because more of the bars were to the right. But actually, no, I don't agree with that because the static was maxed on the left-hand side, so it must be that.
Yeah, I think Dole is clearly below Newman, personally.
Yeah, I guess that's got to be right. I guess there's the endurance. The only thing I would say about Newman is the percent developed is quite low, isn't it?
It's a good thing, though, in a wide receiver with that grade, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Yeah, it's a good thing in a wide receivers with a high grade, low dev percent is usually quite a good thing as well.
Do you think so? I did not know that. I have a much more naive approach where I simply look at the age and the percentage developed. And if the percentage developed is low and the age is high, I always think, what's that trying to tell me? But that isn't as massively data driven.
If you go back and look at all these guys that Nick's taken that have all popped, they were all like 3% developed in the draft.
Yeah. I do think there's something. If you've already got a stacked roster, you can kind of these because they do fall a bit, don't they? These low percent. I mean, not a guy picked in the 3rd pick of the draft, but at the moment, I think I managed to pick in the 2nd round a player that was a bit like that this time around, where the percentage developed was sort of worryingly low. But it's like, well, it's worth swinging the bat if you're that far down in there. All right, so that's Newman and Dole, and I think we both agree those. We'd all anybody think there's a player that shouldn't have been picked in the first 4. I think that probably is the consensus top 4, isn't it? And then we get.
I'm not massively sold on him. I mean, I'm just going to look at the board. I can't even remember who else was on the board. I mean, don't know. I'm not totally convinced.
I was saying to Rob, I think McDonald, the running back, could be a better wide receiver than Dole.
I was going to say I might have taken McDonald before Dole, but it's close. Because you don't know what his big play bar, if you tried to move him over, would turn out as.
I guess 437, right? And the height and weight there is more consistent with the receiver than the running back. But would you take? See, if it was me picking that high, and sort of once in a while opportunity to pick that high, then you would say, well, I'm not sure I want to take that risk, and I'd feel more comfortable picking the receiver we'll get to in a minute that Tampa Bay took at 8. Just because it's just a safer pick.
Yeah, it is. I wouldn't move him to wide receiver. I'd keep him at running back. But I think it's pretty close. I think I'm not going to be shocked if Dole ends up around the 65. I'm not. Donald, could end up much.
But 65 is all right, isn't it? I mean, you don't have to. I know it's the first, top of the first round, but you don't have to get 80 rated or whatever.
No, I'm just not. I just think there was a clear drop after the third pick. I think
Yeah.
drop down. I think there's a clear drop down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, onto this. So, and as a running back, this guy, I'm sure will be fantastic. But even in this version of the game, it's still a running back, right? I mean, this is Zeke Elliott, right?
No, I think
Saquon Barkley.
T-Zach and Eli have shown that you don't need a great running back either. Because they have Asher Vaughn. He's got like 50 hole wreck, but he plays like a 70. Plays like Thomas Rawls, RZB Thomas Rawls.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see someone really sort of start to dominate with it. I guess you were doing it, Nick, for a while with the run first.
Yeah,
just a ridiculous line.
You would find if Atlanta had a quality running back, they'd be that much better again. I think there would be a big upgrade if they had a better running back. But obviously because they got such a great line, that's what they're driving for. So the interior three, I think, are what makes the game for the running back.
So talking of interior line, so my gizmo, the Excel gizmo, told me that this player picked number 6 to Houston, a defensive tackle called Les Seaman. What a name! Will be the highest rated player. The only other contender for highest rated player on my calculations, at least, is the center that went halfway down the board to New England low intelligence, whose name I've forgotten. Westbrook, I think.
We agree in Atlanta.
You agree with that? You're on the highest rated?
Yeah. Seaman we had at like 92.
Okay.
And the center at 90.
Yeah, there you go. So I had similar kind of numbers. So why didn't you pick this guy at 3?
We have Bunning.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I think you get diminishing returns if you have 2 massive guys trying to eat the quarterback.
Yeah, fair enough. I for our part, I think Quick wanted to make some inquiries to see if we could get up and get this guy. There was a definite view from us that this guy would be a real difference maker, particularly if you're a 3-4 team and you can have him as a rusher. We were well on board for this. Anyone think this is too high? Once upon a time, particularly when it was 8.2 version of this game, the first defensive player off the board in this league was going like 16th pick or whatever, and that became a trend. What do we think now? The game seems more balanced. Is this a sensible 6th round pick?
Yes, I think so.
I think so. It's got to be, hasn't it? I mean, the game seems to have changed a bit, become a little bit more neutral. A bit less throw first in all instances.
The really great thing about Les Seaman is you don't even have to try to think of a nickname for him. It just stands on its own.
Those of us in the UK will remember the outstanding Arsenal goalkeeper David Seaman, who was a fantastic player for my beloved Arsenal, and he managed to get through an entire career without really getting a nickname. Well, at least not a nickname linked to his surname anyway. Which was probably for the best. All right, moving on. Luke.
He did have a massive mustache and a ponytail, so
yeah, he did. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a hell of a goalkeeper too. Right, this guy, 6'3", 258. Is this a 4-3 edge rusher in disguise? Even though it says linebacker. Got to be right. Or is the PRT too small? Are you better off?
Yeah. I would be a little concerned by the pass rush technique bar, but
so is this player a bit more of a is this player as good as these bars? Is this player going to make a lot of impact in the game, do we think?
I don't know about that, but he's certainly a linebacker for me. I wouldn't play him at defensive end. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I mean, on face value, he looks excellent, doesn't he? But
I just find it difficult to know whether these players make any difference. I'm sure they probably do. It's just how do you tell, right?
I've done some testing on it. I'm going to post something in the next week or so when I can be bothered to write it up and get pictures on Imgur or whatever. But
yeah,
I don't see much. But again, my team's awful defensively, so
you don't see much. You don't see much impact, or
well, I'm using a 100 cohesion team as well, so I think cohesion has a big part in it.
Rob's just won the bowl with a team with a couple of players like this, right? I mean, so it's not like as if they're complete drags on cap and all that. Once upon a time, I did just think players like this are a drag on cap; they're just a complete waste. I'm not sure I think that anymore, but I mean, I've got a high sample size to inform that view. No, I think the game's probably changed a bit. The value.
you know, I mean, if you get a massively amazing linebacker and he gives you an extra half a win, you know, I think that's all you can expect, and I think that's fine. I don't think we're going to see enormous shifts in the stats. But you know, to buy half a win, you know, with an absolute stud is, you know, good. Really, I mean, I don't. You know, back in the day, a wide receiver could get you, you know, a couple of wins, 2.5 wins, couldn't they?
Oh yeah, this linebacker for me is as valuable as a top running back, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
If you have no O-line.
All right. So then let's look at the next pick. Right. So the next pick is number 8, Tampa Bay. I don't know. What do we think here? Would you rather have this player than the one that went at 7?
Well, I'd probably have the linebacker personally.
Yeah,
difficult, isn't it? It's difficult. If that's the static there, the big play receiving bar, if that was 20 points higher,
yeah,
we'd change our views, wouldn't we?
I mean, you'd be throwing the ball to somebody else, and the miss to somebody else is probably not going to be a heck of a lot worse than this guy. So, whereas that linebacker is likely to be a massive upgrade, isn't he?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think from a division, like again, New England have picked at 7 in my division. Am I happy they've taken that guy as compared to this one? It's hard to form a view. They're probably about the same.
If his bar stayed like that, I'd be perfectly fine with him, even with the low big play bar. I've had a lot of wide receivers with bars like that. They can average 9+ yards a target. So yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
I mean, my logic on that is that the big play bar is almost like the gatekeeper to all the other bars actually being what you expect, right?
Isn't his big player?
Yeah, it's a red flag for sure when you're looking at draft guys.
Isn't his big player a little low for that combine?
Yeah. Yeah, you'd expect it to be around. That's just over the 50 mark. So you'd be looking at sort of, you know, early to mid 50s, probably mid 50s.
Yeah, that'd be the only red flag I'd need to say no on him then.
All right, next one's Joel. I wanted this guy, Joel. I thought he was going to fall all the way down to me at 20 something, but he didn't because you picked him, you bastard. So, well done.
I wanted Seaman, to be honest.
Yeah, well,
he always does.
Yeah, exactly. It's too easy, right? It's just too easy. The only thing I'd say on this guy is if this guy's run block and pass block bars were the other way around, I'd be happier. But I mean, otherwise, he just looks completely blue chip, right?
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'll say about it. It looks okay. I'm not excited about him.
It's an affinity for
if the pass blocking bar was the other way around with the run blocking bar.
Yeah. I mean, it's got the bars of a tackle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's too small to move. Only 6'2", which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah. But an affinity for me, Joel. So if it doesn't work out, just shout. And we'll be there with our. We're giving you the picks back that you gave me for a trade later on this draft. Next one, Arizona pick 10. This is the second running back that came off the draft. Another one that, off the board. Another one I thought might fall a bit further and was on our list for that reason, but no. What do we think here? I think this is a solid pick, but I mean, is this the 10th pick in the draft?
If it's bar stick, I think he is. Yeah, definitely.
I think I guess these days it's just more likely that you might pick a running back up the board. Is there any team that's got a running back and a bad line and the running back's doing a good job? If you see what I mean.
I thought Buffalo Bills with Van Kennedy did a really good job as well. Van Kennedy doesn't look like a stud, but he's got Max Holbeck and he hasn't got a good O-line.
Yeah.
He ran. I'm just about there. What was it?
Kennedy's low endurance.
Yards at 5.5.
Yeah, with low endurance too. I saw that, and that's another one that would fit very neatly on our roster.
I think it can make sort of maybe half a yard of carry, you know, difference at an average versus a really good running back. But you know, if you're giving the guy 400 carries, that's 200 yards a year, you know. So plus he'd probably be safer with the boys and less likely to fumble. So.
Yeah, and the gap between running and passing has been reduced. That half a yard's more valuable than it was playing this game 18 months ago in real life.
It doesn't sound a lot, but you know that can be the difference. You know, in keeping a drive going. You know, points. I'll probably value them more than most.
Yeah, so another good player finds way into your division, Nick. Next one. Right, so here, Eli, come back to you. So when you were at 3, you didn't consider this quarterback. You went straight to the receiver. This quarterback wasn't on your radar at all?
Absolutely, yeah, no, not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. That's interesting.
We had one guy on our radar. Well,
Yeah.
two guys. I like the center that went at 18 with the pick we gave up.
The centre, Westbrook, yeah?
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah, no, me too, very much. But Cruz, I mean, look, I feel like I'm light years behind certainly in the quarterback evaluation. It's clearly moved on. I'm not fishing for it in this discussion, but it's fairly obvious that the top players now in this game are thinking about this in ways that I'm not. To me, looking, at it in the way that I think consensus people looked at it a couple of years ago, real life, I just see high accuracy, high sense rush. He looks all right. This looks like a good pick to me. Maybe I'm missing something. There's no 0 bars. It all looks all right. I'd be very, very happy picking a player like this with the 11th pick in the draft if I knew the quarterback. But, I think that's the sort of old school way of thinking about it where, you just sort of chancing your arm on what the avoid interception is going to be when the player reveals. But I personally think that for Indianapolis, this is a great pick. Is there anyone who doesn't think this is a decent pick? Okay.
I don't know. I'm not that in love with the guy. I think he's okay. I think for the 11th pick, I mean, it's the accuracy with a 70 position spec. I expect to probably come down. I don't think the avoid intersections is going to be great. If it was me, I probably wouldn't take him.
That's interesting.
I think quarterback's one of the hardest positions to judge, and I would probably, when I went and got money from Kansas for a late first, I'm comfortable because I know what I'm getting.
Yep.
And the last thing you want to do is blow a pick like 111.
Well, we've done exactly the same we took a guy called O'Connor from New England, right? And it's exactly the same mentality. It's what you're going to get. It stops you doing a massive jump up the board for a position you don't know how to draft. I think the point is, and again, I'm really not trying to fish here. I think the point is there are people who've figured out how to do it, and that's the point.
You've got these guys at 1-1 and 1-2 that are absolute monsters, and you can see they're monsters. And I think unless you're getting those monster type prospects, guys like Cruz, I think it's more of a gamble pick, and I don't think the upside is massive. I don't think the upside's that big, but I think the downside could be. So,
okay. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit because I think the receivers by this point that come off the board have kind of been and gone.
That's a good point.
And so,
I think
this is the guy all day long.
If I would, go above this guy, I'll give you a shout. But maybe there's not. I can't remember who went.
Yeah.
So
all right.
For me, I would
go ahead.
This guy's 4th on my list for quarterbacks. Actually, there's the guy Jeremy took in the 3rd round, was it? I had above this guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because I would rather have a mid-40s guy that you could dispose of that you've picked in the 3rd or 4th round, who's got decent AI, over this guy who might be mid-50s with poor AI that you've wasted at first on.
Yeah, I can see the logic for that. And if the quarterback that you've got, Evan, on your roster, I tried to trade for, if he had good AI, I'd be throwing a farm at him because he's the perfect quarterback for our team, except for the AI.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. That's the thing, though, is how many people pay attention to what the AI is. So a lot of people just see it 50 quarterback.
Well, practically anyone who plays in this league for a start. but hey, all right, moving on to the next. I think I'm maybe a bit out of step, but I think that's a great pick. Next one, Winslet. So this is the 2nd, is it, defensive player off the board? The 1st defensive back off the board comes to Mikey. Just looks like a solid one to me. Any views on this? Might ideally have something maxed out, I guess, for a 12th pick in the draft on defense. But I mean, this player's just going to be good, right?
Yeah, I feel as though my opinion on defensive players is null and void nowadays with how badly I've been at defense. I've been trying to add corners. So if you can get yourself a good corner that can shut the pass down, then yeah, why not?
They're quite expensive in this league. I have to say, we looked at it, Quick and I. We were like, we want to get a good cornerback. And we were like, okay, where do we get one? And they're not cheaply acquired, I have to say. They're pretty.
I mean, do they actually do much? I don't know. The second question is, we're moving away from passing to running, so therefore, are they losing value? I mean,
have you got
I
one, Nick? I don't know. I haven't looked at your roster. Have you got a good cornerback? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
keep
picked one. He used it first last year on one.
I wish I didn't. I don't know why I do it. It's like when you're young and you go out and you get pissed and you end up with a ball that you shouldn't.
But didn't you pick a safety in this draft as well?
Yeah, and he'll
Gonna
probably play corner this year as well. Yeah, this is it. I don't know why I do it. I don't want to do it, but it just happens. And
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I can't.
I think it's what falls, right? It's what you get at the end of the first round. If you're a playoff contender, it's kind of what falls to you at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm not really very happy with the corner I took last year. I'm not happy with him at all. I really kicked myself, and I wish I could take the pick back. Mainly because of his run defense. It just really bothers me to the point that when I play a running team, I actually sub him out. I hate seeing guys trampled, and I've seen him trampled a couple of times, and you know, in the logs, and it just really gets under my skin.
Well, that's the new thing. Corners with high run defense. I don't know. Anyways, I see this guy's high 60, low 70 is quite interesting. Now the next pick is the best name in the draft and possibly the best name we've had in this league ever. I just think what a great name that is. I'm not going to even try to say it because if you say it with a British accent, it's going to sound even more ridiculous. What do we think here? This is I don't know. This is a bit like the other linebacker that went. I mean, it's obviously a good player. It'll be a high rating, all the rest of it. You just wonder how much difference it makes. I have a sneaking suspicion it makes more difference than I think. Anyway, I quite like this guy. Anyone not like this guy? How can you not like a guy with this name?
I like him.
He should have been a punter. That's my only problem. He does look a lot like my linebacker on my team right now, Blackburn, which the problem I kind of have with him is I don't know. He just has to be like an inside linebacker at this point because all of his bars, none of them are really
it's a tweener.
Nothing. Yeah.
Tweener, right? It's the wrong weight, really. I think it's kind of like what do you do with a player of that? It's too big to be a coverage first linebacker, and it's too small to be a rusher, right? So it's not. This player is not really going to specialize in coverage or rushing. And then it's a bit like this. It's sort of. Is it good to be the best? Is it the best of both worlds, or is it the worst of both worlds? It's kind of hard to tell, isn't it? But anyway, this is a good player, and Grim picks good players consistently, and that's another one. Next one, another corner here to Kansas City. This one's got for a top half of the first round defensive player, you want to have a maxed out bar, which is really satisfyingly massive. And so for me, I'd probably have taken this one before the last couple of defensive players that have been taken. What do you guys reckon? I like this one.
Yeah, I mean, much for much. So I don't know. I never get excited about corners. I don't care how good he is at this point. I mean, the only corner I liked is that one that Rob's got, the Rogers guy, because he's got massive return bars on him. And I did try to get him off Rob, but Rob won't talk to me. So just cut straight away.
Scott,
talking about trades, and then
Scott, has your trade cleared? The is that third rounder for a running back trade cleared yet?
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I got to make my pick actually. By the looks of it, somebody's just messaged me.
You're on the board.
Yeah. See what you guys think of this guy then. I think I know who I'm taking.
Go on. Who are you taking?
Who am I taking? I am taking a defensive tackle called Donaldson.
Oh, okay, that's not my guy.
At least I think I'm taking that guy.
Oh.
I think I'm taking that guy. I might mull it as we,
I've done myself in. Chris going to be very unhappy with me if it turns out you then switch to the guy that. All right, so that's. I like this. I like this one. It sounds like I like this one a bit more than some of you, but I thought that was really good. Next one, Jacksonville, another sort of all-rounder. This one at 235, at least it's sort of there's a clarity as to what this person's meant to do. This is meant to be a coverage linebacker, right? Do we care about the distinction? I think we do care, don't we?
I preferred him to Money because he had a max endurance actually, so it didn't mean it had to fiddle in the depth charts. That was my reason.
Exactly. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you on that. Yeah. Next pick, the next one, Tanner Briggs, is a kind of similar profile, but we interviewed this guy, which is why the bars are so narrow. This guy's an affinity for us. So if this one doesn't pan out on the Denver roster, then he can make his way onto the New York Jets roster sometime soon, because we coveted this player and hoped to fall 10 picks further to us, but didn't. Yeah, look, this is a player that for us with the affinity overlay, we were completely sold on. But I mean, I guess if you then just take that away, I suppose the main knock would be that this is meant to be a coverage linebacker. He's not really big enough to really use that rushing bar, and the man-to-man D bar is probably a bit lower than you'd hope for from a coverage player. But I mean, do you guys think this is a mid-first guy? We thought this guy might fall to us at 126.
I think if he can gain weight, that's the big one there, he'll end up looking a lot like Pook, who Nick took a few years back. He had a good time at the Patriots. I think he's at the Vikings now. Like he could move over to the edge, and he could be a very good edge rusher. That's the big.
I guess the encouragement is because he's 6'1", which is short for this position. I think the height rate thing is on a ratio, like of height to weight or weight to height.
Yeah, it is.
So he's a bit like, if this guy was 6'7", 246, you don't think that guy's going to be able to gain weight. But at 6'1", 246, if you gain weight to like 255, that probably would position switch to an edge rusher, right?
Play him at defensive end. I mean, I play my Wilcox at defensive end. In some formations, when I want to.
And if he's playing 3-4, he plays weak linebacker anyway, or strong side linebacker, doesn't he? Just play on the edge, get sacks.
I remain to be convinced that do you think that actually works? I'm still learning. 3-4 I've never done before, but it's what Quick does, so I'm trying to learn how to do that. As you can tell, don't know yet. Next one is Kramer from Cincinnati. So this one is kind of the opposite of the one that Tampa Bay took at 8. So Willie was sitting there staring at a low big play bar, but really encouraging route running and getting downfield bars. And this is the reverse. So there's probably a bit more security, but a bit less excitement. So this is maybe a bit of a lower upside pick. Would you guys be happy with this? This is Julio, right? So the player's probably going to be good because Julio knows exactly what he's doing. What do we think?
I didn't like him because he had only 13 bench press and 37 position drill, if that means anything.
So what do I think that means on a 1 to 100 scale? Hang on, what's this player called? Kramer.
It just seemed pretty low to me, having a 37 position drill and coming out as a decent wide receiver. But again, I think Eli would go for 10s.
Is 37 on the bottom of the threshold? That threshold.
Oh, I see what you mean. The position drill. If you put it on a 1 to 100 scale, the position drill will be 25 out of 100. So that is pretty low, isn't it?
It felt pretty low to me, yeah.
I don't know if that makes any difference, but it is quite low. We'll find out, I guess. Also, interesting how you've got like a lot of outliers on this player, like way above, way below. Everything's a bit weird about this guy. Kind of an interesting one. So one's interesting to see. I mean, if you disregard kind of the probabilities here, and maybe the probabilities are affected by some of this stuff. As a throw of the dice at the 17th pick for a team that must be finding it, I don't know if he's got wide receivers already. It's not easy to get wide receivers that far down. At least it wasn't. The market seems to be adjusting, right? I don't know. I still quite like it from a sort of roster construction perspective. However, he could have taken this guy. So Eli, your thoughts? I really wanted this guy on my team. It sounds like you wanted him on your team as well.
I love him.
Yeah,
he's dumb, but we have a very dumb line already. He would fit right in.
Do you guys just disregard that? That's interesting. I'm still 100% on the intelligence thing, mainly because I think for me it just covers up for some inabilities to really figure out what talent makes any difference and stuff like that. But this guy, I was sitting there thinking, if we've got a chance to pick this guy, I was gonna see how much persuasion I would have needed to have done with Quick to take a guy with such a low prospective intelligence. Is there? Why did this guy fall to 118? Is it just the intelligence? Is there anything else? I don't really fully get this.
I think center's not a premium position on the offensive line. It's kind of easy to find centers. Just get some guy with good run blocking.
I'm not so sure about that.
Couldn't part with it. No way.
Huh?
No, man. Throw me around the bend.
What, the penalties?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They give up so many penalties, offensive linemen. You know, that's the worst position for low intelligence.
I mean, you know my views on this, right? I was pretty clear, sort of, you know, on the intelligence thing. I was into it. I'm still into it. We have it in our roster. You'll see that, but I don't know. I just wanted this guy. I don't know. It's very rare for me to sort of look at a prospect in this game and like get sort of hype about it and like get.
Yeah.
The last one was Rico Sharp for me, and that went completely wrong.
I mean,
This is
another really do much on the centre. So I mean that's kind of myth. The endurance, what does that matter? So what are you actually paying for?
The run block bar maximum.
Yeah, you're paying the run block bar. I've got a guy on my team who's probably going to be close to 100. Got no pass blocking whatsoever. He's smart. Is your guy actually going to be a lot better than my guy?
It's funny. The guy I've got in the same position, the centre, is you and I were overbidding each other for him in the 3rd round, Nick, a few drafts ago.
Really? What was that?
Yeah.
What was that?
You tried to bid me for my 3rd rounder, and I stuck and picked, and then you said, "You bastard, that's the guy I wanted," and it was my centre, and it was a max run block. Well, I can't remember the name, but that's, I don't know. I still want this player. I think this player is amazing. I think this player should have gone in the top 10.
I don't. I might be tempted to around 130.
Not with that intelligence, I don't think.
No. Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm sort of
divisive. That's the first really divisive guy, then, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I'd have been delighted with this guy. I don't know if but Eli, how come you guys didn't end up with this guy? That's what I guess it was because of the trade up, right? I guess it's just as simple as that. There was no prospect of then getting back in or whatever. Because it sounds like you guys were as kind of as positive as we are. I'm really unhappy that this guy's in our division. We're going to come up against this guy every time. And I'm actually starting to think, I know this isn't really the way the game engine works, but maybe we need to get like a good nose tackle to deal with this guy. I know that's not really the way the game works, but whatever. All right, next one. What do we make of this guy? Another low static here. Which one's Los Angeles A? Is this Saw?
This is Kev.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So what do we make of this one?
I thought about him at 1.9 again, but my reasoning behind not doing it, if he had BPR with around 50 mark, I would have taken him there. But
yeah,
that BPR to me, I think, is more important in a tight end than in a wide receiver as well now. If you can stick them on those go routes and try and hit them, they can be your best deep targets. But
I do wonder about whether the last draft, the one before this one, was stacked with loads of tight end prospects. I don't know how the other ones panned out, but I got a really good one in the 3rd round in the last draft, which we're really pleased with. And so I'm just wondering if that draft has sort of cleared a few needs out, such that this, because I still think, I mean, even with a low big player, I still think this is a bit of a fall. I think I would rather have this guy than some of those defensive players that were a few picks earlier, I think. Don't know.
So what are you paying for in this guy? You're paying for that 55-60 route running, you're paying for a max get downfield. You might be able to find a guy similar to that in the 3rd and 4th as well with a max get downfield, couldn't you?
I tell you what, I mean, Eli, you and Zach took in the 2nd round the tight end I wanted from this draft. So, damn you guys! I can't remember the name. Something I see I can. Is it Delgado or something?
What was good about Delgado?
For us, it was affinity. It was affinity, and it was a really good young affinity tight end 2 for the next 8 to 9 seasons. Don't have to think again. I really wanted that, but I didn't want to. I wouldn't have paid a high 2nd, but maybe I'm misreading it. But we definitely wanted that player a lot. So I'm kind of, if it doesn't work out, Eli, or if you draft yet more of them, so you've got a completely super stat roster, we're here.
We think he's the second best tight end in the draft.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, and we had the affinity overlay too. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd agree with that if we didn't have the affinity overlay factored in or whatever. Speaking of which, next pick was also, actually no, it's not right. There are a couple more before we get to the next affinity. This guy, what do we think on this guy? So this is an interesting one. This is a guy that would have been more attractive to me in prior versions of the game, where we saw a big static and then a few bars off to the left like that. You could feel fairly good about them popping. Does anyone feel good about these top bars popping over to the right to snap to the others here? Or is this guy a superstar returner?
I think he's paid a first for a returner.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, that's what I thought. I liked him, and I was hoping I might grab him, but yeah, I thought he was useless as a receiver. But
Yeah, that route running is just too low to be useful. If it's in the 20s or 30s, he's basically just useless there. Get like 5 yards a target.
Yeah, well, look, I hope that's wrong because it's a pretty high pick, but I think the route running here is going to be it's going to hinge on that, right? So fingers crossed for a good reveal on this one. Regardless of that, you definitely get the best returner in the league if it looks like this. Ages ago, literally 3 or 4 real life years ago in the GML, I used a first round pick on a running back, and I was so angry with myself because it was just, at the time, the way the games were structured was just terrible roster construction, but I just ran out of time, and that was the pick I took. And the running back was a rubbish running back, but turned out to be the best best returner in the history of the GML. I think still is, and that league's 140 seasons in now, I think. Okay, next one, Indianapolis pick 21. This says a safety, but this is a corner, right? And this is a pretty good corner. I don't know, what do we reckon? This is just a pretty good corner, isn't it?
Yeah, I really like this guy. I see him a little bit better than you do on your screen, but yeah, almost max bump and run man, really high interceptions. It looks like a great corner.
Yeah, I think I'd be pretty happy with that for pick 21. Moving on to so Miami, my division. This is a pick from Flex on Caldwell. So my gizmo, which compares players to historic comparables, for some reason absolutely loved this guy. The sort of my eyes don't see it as much as my computer does, but the computer was just loving this guy. Anyone else feeling it on this guy? Certainly my spreadsheet was. I mean, it looks like a serviceable player, right? Actually, one thing in this draft, there wasn't a lot of O-line help, was there? So people who wanted O-line, you kind of had to take what was there. And this, I guess, was as good a pick as there was out there at this point if you needed O-line. Anyone not thinking this is a 22nd pick in the draft?
he wasn't really on my radar, to be honest.
No, it wasn't. I had a guard that I had above him as well, I think. But...
Yeah, well, actually, funny enough, the guy I had above this guy was another guard called Beck, who also went to Miami in the second round. So fairly clear that they decided they wanted, or Flex decided he wanted some O-line help, and he went and got it. Next pick's an interesting one. So this is the kind of pick that was certainly being made 5 off seasons ago in this league when everybody was taking every single wide receiver. Is this still a first round wide receiver given the way the game has changed?
I thought about him at 1-9.
Yeah.
I have an addiction, so.
Anyone saying no? Anyone saying this isn't a first round wide receiver?
He was the third best wide receiver on my board before Verdos, after Dole and Newman. He was number 3.
I got him 5.
5, yeah. So he's got those 3 bars though, hasn't he? He could end up with 50-ish BPR, 90 route running, and 75 GD, and he's a good player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bloody 49 there.
Next one, Scott to Jacksonville. 40. So at this point, by the way, I'm on the board because I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Because I had 26 and I ended up trading it to you, Joe. I'll talk about that in a minute. This is an interesting player because it's kind of an undersized defensive tackle, right? So it's a run-stopping bar set. And then there's a load of coverage bars, which is super weird for a player of this type, which I don't understand. And then if this player is 315 or 320 or whatever, as opposed to 298, you'd feel a bit more comfortable, wouldn't you? I mean, is this guy the right shape for these bars? Does it matter?
I reckon when he reveals, he's going to identify as a 3-4 defensive end.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
Then is a 3-4 defensive end worth the 24th pick in the draft with no rushing or limited rushing?
I usually don't worry too much about size. I had like a 5'10" defensive tackle who was like one of my best players, but I don't know. It's kind of, with a guy with no pass rush bars, I'd hate to take him in the first. It seems like you could address it later.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. I mean, this is, if it was the real NFL, you'd be sitting there talking about set the edge, right, with a player like this. I don't know if it makes any difference.
He's no seaman.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way to leave it there on him. Right, this one, Forbes again, interviewed by us, which is why you got these dinky little bars, and an affinity, which is why he was interviewed. He was interviewed by us because we thought this was one that we thought might drop to us on the second or the third. And as you can see in the comments that we write among us, we've put boring but likely a long-term asset, which is pretty much my view. Anyone think this is a player that could have gone in the first? I was really hoping this player would fall to us in the second, I have to say.
Yeah, I wouldn't take him in the first.
You're probably looking for a bit more run block bar, right, on an interior lineman. I can't remember what it said about his ability to move to tackle, but at 292, I'm not wildly over optimistic. But still a player that is very much going to be tracked by us in New York. So we could well be one that we try to get on our roster at some point. Now the next pick, 26. So this pick was my pick. Quick and I had this one. And we traded it to you, Joel. So you sent me. What did you send me? Can you remember? I can't.
2 seconds, 6th, 7th, and a 4th. Was it?
that was it. Yeah. So it was basically lots of picks. So we've been doing a lot of pick for player trades this off season, and so a trade where we went and refreshed how many picks we've got was helpful. For you, you like this guy. So tell us about this guy, Joel.
I took a fullback, yeah. I don't know what else to say. I think he'll be good.
The only player who routinely picks fullbacks high in this game who plays at the sort of top end is Ben. Ben does it.
I think he'll be really
Ben
good.
Ben carries good fullbacks more than most. If you're looking at tendon, is that right? I think that's right. Eli, you play an IHOF, right? That's still right, is it? I think the only I think that's right.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
Ben has a great he throws to in IHOF right now.
Sorry?
Ben has a great fullback in IHOF that he's throwing to right now.
Yeah, he does it, right? He's the only guy who does it. And, it's kind of one of these.
The route running on this fullback isn't good. It's not great.
For me, I don't want to use him as a route running kind of guy, though. I want to use him as, if he can get me 600-700 rushing yards a season, 300 or 400 receiving yards, and he equals about 1,000 yards a year for a first, I think that's worth it.
But you know what? We were talking briefly about this guy, weren't we? I think you said you wanted to trade him with me, didn't you? You wanted my first, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we chatted about it. Yeah, well, I didn't tell you what I thought of him, but what I thought about him was he hasn't got massive hole recognition. He hasn't got massive route running. So, he's going to be highly rated in things that I don't want. If he had great hole recognition and great route running and some of the other bars were lower, then I'd get his value. But, I don't see him as a great runner or a great pass catcher. And I don't think blocking matters. That was how I thought of him.
Well, we're about to find out. I just wonder whether I just don't know. But as the game's become more sort of 1990s NFL style, I just wonder if there's a lot of value in these guys that none of us know anything about yet, and Ben's doing it. But Ben's always done it, so.
I've never carried one. I've never had a fullback.
Nor have I, but
I think for me, I've done enough in single pair to look at them and think, if he's got better than 60 hole rec, that's what I want. Get him a good O-line. He could carry for high 4s, low 5s, 500 yards a season kind of thing pretty consistently. And having that as an extra pair that can catch and all sorts and is really cheap makes a bit of sense to me, to be honest. But I still spent a first on it.
You think you'd use him as like a third down back with that power inside?
Yeah.
And you also had the next pick, Joel. So you picked this guy. Now this one's in the Slack. This was surprising to me, at least, that it wasn't sort of universal positivity. I just thought this guy was good. Like, I don't know if I'm missing something, but this guy struck me as should have gone higher. These guys are valuable. If you 4-3 defensive end with a maxed out technique, I mean, this is why isn't this a guy that gets 10 to 15 sacks every season, isn't it?
I'll tell you why this is a great pick for me as well. I play 3-4.
Are you serious?
So-
I am 100% serious.
What's the matter with this guy then, Eli? I mean, why were you saying that he's not, all that? What makes you sort of think he's going to fall?
Was that directed to me?
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
asking, why you didn't like this guy?
You're not super hot on this guy. I said in the Slack that I
Yeah,
like this guy, and
I
it wasn't.
mean, it looks to me. I mean, he's got the pass rush technique through the roof at 4.56, and endurance looks there. The static bar, obviously, in pass rush strength is there. So, for me, and what I'm looking at, I thought he was sound. I just wondered what it was that made you sort of think he wasn't going to stand up.
Nick.
He's, his combine reinforces the bars as far as I can see.
Nick, to me, he looks like a great player. I mean, I love his punishing hitter, great pass technique, great combines. T-Zach made one comment about him not being good, and I, was bitter and said it. I have no clue. He looks good to me.
I'm fully on board for this guy being. I think this guy will be good.
It'll be really interesting to see how this guy comes out, won't it?
I think for me, once they said that, I had a proper look again at it. The reason why I think it might not be like on Zach's whatever is that agility is 7.54. So he might be interviewed as overrated, and that run defense or bump and run might come down. But I think the pass rush technique holds. I think the endurance holds. I think the stuff you need from a defensive end, that's pass rushing holds.
I love the idea that you're doing this in a 3-4. That's hilarious.
I think the biggest problem with a guy like this is I can go look in free agency right now and find 100 pass rush guy.
Oh yeah, I've got a 100 pass rush guy called Dustin Woods that I got in UDFA. Who could be just as good, but I had to take a defensive guy. I had to break that curse, Evan. And there wasn't a wide receiver I liked.
One of my first ever moments playing this game multiplayer where I felt like I got something right. I picked a guy a bit like this, but without all the other stuff, just the massive pass run technique bar in the 5th round, and the guy popped and was brilliant. And I was like, wow, this game's great, just because I had a bit of luck, basically. All right, so now this running back went to Detroit. There seems to be a widespread distrust among people who play this game a lot of a high elusiveness bar, because people think it leads to lots of tackles for loss, right? I think the logic is that the player, the high elusiveness starts trying to sort of dance their way towards the line of scrimmage, and they get knocked back from time to time. Does that mean for you guys this isn't a good pick? I mean, I just think this guy looks all right. If you want to run him back and you want a whole rec bar, then here's one. Not
for me,
statics.
what I look at is I don't like to see elusiveness higher than whole rec, and if it is, then I really shy away. But if it's sort of equal or below, not so bad, Ideally a bit lower, a bit lower than whole rec, but because the whole rec is so high, no, it wouldn't sort of frighten me too much.
I mean, to me, this is the most important bar maxed. A max static. This position group has got 3 statics, right? 1, 2, 3, and one of them's maxed. So what else can you do? And then there's endurance. There's a high percentage develop. I'm a bit surprised this guy didn't go a bit higher, actually.
He looks a little bit like Sebastian Langton that I took last year. And when I was watching him play, first 2 games, he was good. After that, it's pissing me off so much. He was getting tackled behind the line like half the time. And my line sucks, but oh my God, it's so annoying. So I traded up for Gamegrave. I had to settle for Langton. I agree with Nick that when you see elusive that high, it's definitely a turn off. Unless they're like a 3rd down back and they like have no other ratings, then I can deal with elusiveness. But
what about do you need the guy to be able to catch as well to be a highly rated running back? Do we care about that? Because this guy's not.
I don't want to throw to him, so
okay.
I'd rather they're route running with 0 or something.
Yeah, not interested in that.
I can't believe I didn't get. By the way, Quick and I deserve some stick in this offseason because we massively overpaid an age 30 running back in the early rounds of free agency, and we didn't get any stick at all. We deserve stick for that, but we didn't get it, and it was me. That was all me. I was sort of on tilt. I decided we needed the running back, and I couldn't see one that was likely to fall to us in the draft, and so that's what we did. But this guy would have fallen to us had I been a little bit more patient. I'm not quite sure whether that would have been a good thing or not. Moving on. Nick, this was you. So what are you seeing here?
Combines.
Combines. So hang on a sec.
Combines. Yeah.
So let's have a look. Hang on, I'm just trying to find on my little 0 to 100 scale thing what these combines are. Here we go. Yeah. So I've got.
If I was braver, Jamie, I think I'd take this guy instead of the defensive end I took.
All the combines except the broad jump one is returning, right? So if you leave that aside, all the other 5 combines for this guy on a 0 to 100 scale are 90 out of 100.
Yeah, and that's what I saw. So that's why I picked him. I didn't know that he was going to jump, but I thought, well, the odds are he's going up. No downside. He's either going to stay as he is or go up, or either he could potentially go up an awful lot. He might go up just a bit, but I don't see him going down. So I thought, I just couldn't leave him on the board, not with those combines. Just couldn't do it. I mean, I remember that end that Zach and Eli took last year. Ridiculous combines. Then he took Crenshaw, ridiculous combines. So I'm going to take a guy with ridiculous combines. That's what I'm going to do.
see what happens.
Yeah.
This could be the new spreadsheet game, is to find out what the best average combines are. Just go and pick that. Wasn't there a version? Yeah. This is before my time playing this game, but like shortly before I got into this. So something like 2014 real time, there was a version of this game where it was basically just all on the combines, right? Wasn't there?
Yeah, you can still play it all on the combines now if you adjust the draft setting.
Yeah, but because then it got moved to like, what number was it, like 39 or something?
Yeah, that's
the right. Setting, and the idea of that was to randomize it a bit more.
However you want to play it, but you could play it. You can still play it now, and we used to play it, and it was literally 100% link between combines and bars. So that was how it was. And I've just taken Donaldson, by the way. It took me ages to make this pick because if you look at Donaldson, he's blue all the way across, apart from
hang on. So
tackle.
This
Again,
one.
it's a bit of a combine pick. Yeah, I mean, his combines, as you say, it's all blue bar the bench reps. And I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking to myself, he's a run stuffer. I like his endurance. I like his run defense. His combines are all blue. But then the reason I started wobbling is because a lot of the combines are only just blue. They're not awesome.
The static too, right? But it's a third rounder, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The guy you went before, actually, hang on, what have I done here? The guy you went before, that one. Damn it. that's now you're on the clock, Evan. It's turned into a live draft.
I couldn't see that. With my scout,
that's what I wanted. But anyway,
I'm buggered. So I can't see it. But...
You move on. All right. So where was I? I was in the first round. And which one were we on? We were on Washington at pick 30, I think. All right, so then this was another player I thought was sort of out of position. It says linebacker, but this is another edge rusher, isn't it? A 4-3 edge rusher, I think.
Yeah.
And a pretty good one. Not maxed out or whatever, but this is solid.
I think you really saw diminishing returns towards, like, there were big drop-offs constantly in the draft class. I think, like, after 3 there was, and then you hit around the 10th pick and then there's a big drop off, and then you hit around that 18th pick, and again I think we're getting around to that big drop off again here. Like, this guy isn't as good as a guy 3 or 4 picks before, I don't think.
Yeah, I still think guys like this are good though. I mean, I still think this is like a proper good first round player. If I was a 4-3 team, I'd be perfectly happy here, I think. You want to have at least, don't you want to, I think on defense you want to have like a couple of like really players that just like look good, as well as all of the sort of guys with the right bars and stuff. And this is one of those, isn't it? Like, as a tent pole player, you can have a couple of these to make sure your defense is credible looking.
Dallas always, when his pick comes up, he likes to text me, ask me what I think of this guy. And I'll go, I don't really like him. I don't think you should draft him. And then I go look at the board, and he drafts him anyways. I don't get why he even asked me.
I think we looked at this guy, and I thought we were kind of interested, but again, we're on 3-4 these days. So Moving on, this one was a super interesting prospect. So if this guy's got endurance of 50, where does this guy go? Right, not falling to 31. If this guy's got endurance of 50 or whatever, or sort of better than 50, does this guy go much higher than this?
Yeah. Yeah, if I got anything to do with it, he would.
Yeah, I think this is a.
That to me, that's prototype. The top sort of what we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is the prototype sort of bars that I like to see. I mean, okay, I would have seen a whole wreck was the max and not third down, but yeah, that is what I'm looking for completely.
Yeah, and okay, so the endurance is where it is. Are we still thinking 31 makes sense? I mean, I haven't got the ability to faff around with the depth charts enough to sort of. I don't know if it makes any difference. I don't really care enough. It's not my world. If people who do all of that, is this a player that you can sort of put in a committee and it's going to be super high performance, limited?
I don't know.
Maybe
that it's not. You can't, if you give him too many carries, he's going to get tired, and his effectiveness is going to start to drop. So, how many carries is he going to get? 15 carries a game or something, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't. I mean, I wouldn't take him any higher than where he went, and the endurance is massive, absolutely huge.
I'd say it was tempting. I did have this player as the second best running back on the board, but I don't know much about it, so I don't know really. It's an element of the game I've never really focused on, which is kind of how much does endurance stuff matter.
Well, I mean, he's going to get subbed out, isn't he? If you keep giving him the ball, you keep putting him on the field. Eventually, he's going to.
Is that how it works, though? It's just like in the second half of games, this guy just won't be there. Is that how it works?
Well, I mean, I see my low endurance running backs get dragged off the field. If you sort of try and you'll get the backup will start coming in, and but also, there's more than likely it's the fact that his performance is going to reduce if you try and keep shoveling him in, and he's he ain't got the lungs for it. So yeah, it certainly isn't a good thing, is it, that he's got low endurance, whichever way you look at it.
No. And then the last pick of the first round, Delgado to New England. So this guy doesn't have the maxed out hole wreck that many of us look for, and does have the elusiveness being higher. Still looks to me like a pretty good. I mean, that again, the flip side now, the endurance is 100, and if you kind of work on the basis that you don't have to be maxed out, I mean, this player is going to be good, right, and presumably good for quite a long time. Maybe not, super hyper. I don't know, perfect. But I can see how you pick a player like this, because it's like, well, I don't have to think about that position again for a long, long time. Is that what we think they were thinking?
I mean, yeah, but for me, I want my running back to churn out 3, 4, 5, 6 yards of carry. This guy, he's going to have the -2s, and then he might get 8, and I just don't want that out of my running backs. I want to see a consistent gain, and that elusiveness bar and a lower hole wreck would frighten me off. So I wouldn't want him.
So that's the first round. And if any other players we want to focus on, any players we want to focus on before we wrap this up, that jumped out to you guys as particularly interesting or whatever, any picks anyone's super happy with or super unhappy with?
That 2% quarterback was interesting.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Ratliff. Orlando Ratliff, yeah.
74 to Arizona. Just look at my other screen. 74 to Arizona. Hang on.
I don't think he is going to be anything, but he certainly made me look. I interviewed him. I got overrated. I did certainly have a good look at that guy, but in the end, he was a no for me. But I thought it was interesting looking.
Is this another yellow group quarterback? It must be.
Yeah.
This is like the new thing. It's not good for those of us in the chemistry world, because you're trying to get a yellow group O-line. It's bloody impossible. I had it with what was the name of the quarterback I had when I joined this league? Oh, Diaz. Yeah, he was yellow group. It's just so difficult to build the chemistry structure around it. But anyway, all right. Well, look, that I think is pretty much it, isn't it? Is there anything else we want to cover before we disappear?
I'm good.
I think we captured it. Good. Well, okay. I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, everybody. Let me see if I
Yeah,
can turn
cheers, Jamie.
this thing off. I'm going to hit pause and record.